What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this NBA 2-game slate. NBA playoffs are back. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NBA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. And now let's go ahead and dive right into this NBA 2-game slate. Playoffs are finally here, guys. And if you guys haven't signed for Discord, we don't know what you're doing. Get ready for the NBA playoffs. We're going to be covering every single matchup, including some showdowns, hopefully, the further we get into the playoffs. But first, we have to break down this slate here, which includes TJ's Boston Celtics. Good luck to your Celtics tomorrow. Did you shave?
I don't remember.
Okay, this is the first time I've seen you on camera today. All right. Anyway, guys.
Mustache?
Yeah, the mustache.
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say. You look different. Looking nice. All right, so Prize Picks, guys. First of all, if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, I don't know what you're doing. Use code DGF. We're going to give you guys some free plays at the very end of this video. 100% matchup to $100. Like I said, we like some of these plays at the very end. I know TJ's not going to like them because I actually like some unders, but he's also going to be hammering some overs. So we're going to give you guys possibly 3-4 free plays at the end of the video. So use that code DGF, 100% matchup to $100, and you guys just get free money to play around with. If you don't like it, you never have to play again. If you love it, keep coming back to our plays, and we'll keep recommending you some winners. But
Matt, we're like the 99. You'll always come back for more.
Yes. All right. Let's focus on the slate now, TJ. We spent enough time rambling here. We are going to focus on the very first game, which is not your Celtics. It's Charlotte versus Indiana. This does tip off at 6:30 p.m., so 30 minutes earlier than we're used to. Let's start on the Charlotte side, and let's just break this down. So get all the injuries out of the way. This is playoff time. We're used to thinner rotations in the playoffs with the starters, that is. More minutes from them, and they're going to rely on the superstar power, something we're not used to seeing at this point in the season. We now have to flip gears here, and we have to think about it as if all these teams are 0-0, and we're now seeing a debut of all these superstars yet again. Cannot wait to do this. So let's go ahead and focus on the Charlotte team, TJ. Who are we looking at in terms of the starters, maybe even some of these bench players here?
Yeah, Matt. So we have the 9-10 matchup to start us off at 6:30. Do or die, obviously. Whatever team loses is eliminated and does not have the opportunity to play for that 8th playoff spot or the 8th seed. So right now we have Cody Martin and we have Gordon Hayward, who will continue to sit. I know that Charlotte was hoping that Gordon Hayward would return. It looks like he is not going to be playing tomorrow night. I think if they do win this game, Matt, I wouldn't be surprised if he is available to go in the next game. But with him and Cody Martin off the floor, I'm looking at a guy like LaMelo Ball. First playoff game, Matt, obviously a rookie, 8,100. Right. He gets a 1.6% usage bump. He's a 1.31 fantasy point per minute. We have him currently projected for 33 minutes, 27% total usage, which is the highest on the Charlotte team. We have him as a 5.42 value, 43.92 DraftKings points. So I do like LaMelo, but Matt, since Miles Turner went down, Indiana has been very, very poor against opposing bigs. We currently have a 228 over-under in this game. Cody Zeller currently projected at 24 minutes, 1.04 fantasy point per minute with those guys off the floor, like I did talk about. Yeah, 5.29 value. Have him for 24.89 DraftKings points. So, between him and, Bismack Biyombo isn't even projected for any minutes. We'll see a lot of PJ Washington at the 5 potentially in this game. But if Cody Zeller does play 24-ish minutes at that price tag of 4,700, I think he's going to carry some ownership. Yeah, and I'm definitely not going to hate him. I think he's going to be a decent, cheap option here. Outside of those two guys, I have some interest in a guy like Terry Rozier. He's probably going to be more of a tournament play for me. I'll have interest in PJ Washington as well because he is projected for 34 minutes, and I do think he gets a boatload of run at the 4. I mean, excuse me, at the 5, especially when Zeller isn't on the floor. So yeah, I do have some interest here in Charlotte. If I'm going anywhere, Matt, it might be Cody Zeller.
Okay. And I don't hate that, TJ. As you just alluded to, this is the slower paced of the 2 games, so take that with a grain of salt. LaMelo Ball is probably going to be my favorite option. I know, as boring as that is. 33 minutes is what we haven't pinned at, TJ, and I think you can agree with this. I wouldn't be surprised if he played 35 plus, just because this is playoff mode here, and LaMelo Ball is obviously their best player at this point. So LaMelo Ball, if he does only play 33 minutes, I still do like him, assuming that they do score pretty well against Indiana. But yeah, like you said, I think the best value play is Cody Zeller. I love the value plays in some of these other other teams here. So let's go ahead and move on here from Charlotte, probably more of a GPP team as a whole. Let's move on to Indiana.
Where there's Miles Bridges, baby. Tournament plays.
Yes, and a lot of minutes there still with those players. Just slightly overpriced. But value plays on the flip side here, there's a lot of them. Do you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, so with Indiana, Matt, you and I were trying to figure out what their situation is going to look like. Who's going to be healthy, who is not going to play, and I think that's the biggest thing here for Indiana is just their health concerns. We have Miles Turner, who obviously is not going to play. We have Jeremy Lamb, who's going to sit as well. But then we have Sabonis carrying a questionable tag. We have Brogdon carrying a questionable tag. And we have Sumner carrying a questionable tag. And those are 3 guys that are obviously, when healthy, play some decent minutes, especially Sabonis and Brogdon. I think Sabonis is obviously going to be good to go. Brogdon is that guy that's kind of wishy-washy with the hamstring. He hasn't played in, 2.5 weeks now. The last time we saw him was April 29th against Brooklyn. So I think, and like we talked about, we think he'll suck it up and play. I think some of the minute projections that Fantasy Cruncher has right now are pretty inaccurate. Like they have Brissett currently sitting at 20 minutes projected. We think that's a little bit off. They have Sumner at 28. Like if Sumner's good to go and he hasn't played in a little bit here, I highly doubt he comes back and plays 28 minutes. I mean, he hasn't played in a week. He tried to play against Cleveland. He was only able to play 13 minutes. He ended up re-aggravating that injury that he had. So the big thing here with Indiana is trying to get who's actually going to play and who isn't, and then kind of going from there. But right now, what we did is we ran with just Jeremy Lamb, TJ Warren, and Miles Turner off the floor, and the minutes that Fantasy Cruncher does have on guys like Brogdon and Sumner. Matt, I'm going to leave Sumner out of this just because I really don't think he plays those type of minutes. But I mean, if he does play 28 minutes and he does start at 3,400, he becomes a really good cheap option.
Probably the best option, honestly.
Yeah, I would say that, and yeah, I would agree. I think Sabonis is probably going to be my favorite play here at 10K. Again, like we talked about with no Turner here for Indiana, Charlotte is very poor against opposing bigs as well. So I think that's a really good matchup for Sabonis. I think he can exploit those Charlotte bigs, and especially when Zeller's off the floor, like he's going up against PJ Washington, who's really undersized compared to a guy like Sabonis. So Sabonis actually rates out, Matt, 1.45 fantasy point per minute with those guys off the floor, 5.39 value. We have him for 53.86 DraftKings points. So I think a lot of people will go to Sabonis in cash. I really do like him at that price tag in this matchup as well in a playoff type game. Outside of Sabonis, like LeVert would probably be my second favorite play here with or without Brogdon. At 8,600, we have him as a 5.35 value, 29.1% usage, even with Brogdon on the floor with him. So again, Matt, if we get news that Brogdon's out, like that's going to completely shake up the entire slate.
Yeah, forget everything we're saying right now.
Right,
we're gonna pin a post, by the way, if that happens, and then we'll update our favorite plays.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so
that's it. I mean, it's all just kind of what's going to happen. I mean, and, we're talking about Sumner and some of those other guys, Aaron Holiday, whatever. They don't matter. It's whether or not Brogdon's in or not.
If Brogdon plays, which we're going to assume he does, TJ, I don't think he gets as much of a run as some of these superstars talking about Sabonis and LeVert right now. They're projected. Oh, you're watching the Bruins game on the side.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Right now they're projected at 37 minutes. I don't see Brogdon playing that many minutes. I think Fantasy Cruncher hit the nail on the head there with the 32 minutes to 35-ish if he's good to go.
Yeah, I think 30. Yeah.
That being said, Brogdon not really going to be in my player pool. Don't expect much from him, especially next to LeVert and Sabonis, who have been playing out of their mind as of late. But yeah, I think the pay-up options are extremely intriguing here. I think they're almost my favorite pay-up options on the entire slate. We're going to talk about some other options here a little bit later on. But one thing we need to talk about, and one thing we need to address, TJ, is lineup construction, because there's a very obvious pay-up option in the next game that we're going to get to. I think this might be a very good fade in the next game, and pay down to some of these other options like Karis LeVert and Sabonis could make for a very interesting build, and I think it makes sense. Talking about lack of value on the slate just because it's 2 games, Doug McDermott is another player we have to keep an eye on. 28 projected minutes right now on Fantasy Cruncher, and he's just a good play. It's just 4.4K, 28 minutes. If he gets going early, he could easily cover that price tag. So some of these options, again, I really do like in terms of value, but it's all about what happens to Brogdon. If he's going to be on a minute restriction, if he's going to play it to his full extent, if he's going to be out altogether, still don't know. Big what ifs there for this team, and I think this is going to be a great team to attack if he is held out or is on the minute restriction. All right, last but not least, your favorite matchup here we'll start on the Washington side. We'll save the best for last, right, TJ? So let's start out talking about the most obvious pay-up option on the slate, Russell Westbrook. Is he going to be a cash lock, TJ, specifically for the slate?
Probably, yeah. There's not much else that I think needs to be said about Westbrook. The price tag currently at 12.4, like if he was at 13K, which is what we saw him, against Charlotte in that last game, and then 12.8 against Cleveland, maybe I'd be like, okay, well, I could see maybe going off Westbrook, but playoff type game, Matt, he's projected at 40 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 42, honestly.
He should be playing 42
against the Celtics. 44, I think. Like, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Like, I don't see Westbrook not being on the floor as much as he possibly can. Celtics have not been good defensively, including Marcus Smart, who probably will man Russ Westbrook. Like, I just think he's unguardable at that, at this rate that he's been showing over the last month and a half. So I don't think you fade him if you're playing cash, and he looks the best on our sheet, Matt, even at 12.4. So if you're just taking off, if you're taking off Thomas Bryant and Avdija, obviously NATO carries a questionable tag as well, but we talked about it before. We do expect him to play. He gets a 1.2% usage bump. He's a 1.55 fantasy point per minute, 29.6% total usage, obviously the highest on the team. Second highest, to Bradley Beal. But regardless, we have him as a 5.06 value. We have him for 62.74 DraftKings points. So I obviously love Westbrook in cash. So he would be my favorite play. And then my second favorite play would be Bradley Beal, who I read my value sheet wrong. We actually have him technically as a better value than Westbrook.
Right.
At 9K projected 38 minutes. We have him as a 1.25 fantasy point per minute, a 34% total usage, and a 5.27 value. We have him for 47.45 DraftKings points. So those are the 2 guys that I want to be playing, obviously, if I can, would be Westbrook and Beal. I have some interest in some of these other cheaper options, like Bertans at 4,200, a shooter that can potentially get hot. Hachimura is going to play a lot of minutes for them. It's a pretty good matchup against the Celtics bigs. Gafford maybe as a tournament play if he can come in and get hot. NATO should get some minutes too off the bench, Matt. Ish Smith potentially. But yeah, if I'm playing cash, like Westbrook is the guy for me. And then, Beal is a good secondary piece, obviously, at 9K.
12.4, such a crazy price tag, but we're used to seeing it now in Russell Westbrook, and he can easily pay it off. The only thing that I have to say about Russell Westbrook is his ownership might not be as high as we're used to seeing if more value doesn't open up, specifically with Indiana, because there's really not too much to look at here in terms of value just across the board. That being said, if you have to play some of these value plays, dare I say Alex Lynn again, dare I say Gafford, take a stab at one of those 2 guys. One of those 2 guys are going to get an extended run depending on the matchup there. Bertans, like you said, 4.2, probably the only options. And then, of course, Hachimura at 32 projected minutes. So I do like the value, again, with Indiana. But if you have to go down to some of these guys, you're going to be forced to with fitting Westbrook in there. I don't hate it. All right, last but not least, your Boston Celtics, TJ. First of all, are you guys going to win tomorrow?
I don't know.
I say you better.
No idea.
You better.
It's they're running into I feel like a train right now with Washington and the way Westbrook's been playing.
And praying.
So and praying. Playing and praying. Yeah. The Celtics bench had more heart over the last 2 games than I'd seen out of the Celtics starters in 2 weeks. So I think it's gonna be a battle, honestly.
Other than Jaylen Brown, this team is fully healthy. It's going to be cool to see Kemba, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and also Evan Fournier all playing. Their 35-plus minutes is what they're expected to be playing, TJ. Out of those studs, are you targeting anybody specifically?
Yeah, I like everybody, honestly, without JB on the floor, Matt.
No bias whatsoever.
Yeah, no bias. They have the highest team total over under. It's the higher paced match, or the higher paced game out of the two. The 233 over under compared to the 228 between Indiana and Charlotte. Washington doesn't play any defense, neither do the Celtics at this point of the season. And their best defender, arguably Jaylen Brown, out. I know people say Marcus Smart, but he's been a disaster in terms of defense this year. But Tatum, Matt, with Jaylen Brown off the floor, 3.3% usage bump, and this includes no Tice, no Teague, obviously, if you're running a court IQ on Roto. 3.3% usage bump. He's a 1.42 fantasy point per minute, 34.6% total usage, 5.54 value at 9,800. We have him for 54.27 DraftKings points, so I love him. Kemba's another guy I really like, Matt, 3.7% usage bump, 1.18 fantasy points per minute, 30% total usage, 5.87 value, him for 42.83 DraftKings points. Fournier at 6K, I think he's going to carry a lot of ownership. He's going to play a lot of minutes, 1.5% usage bump with those guys off the floor. Only a 0.96 fantasy point per minute, but he's really been finding his form, especially as of late. We have him as a 5.68 value, 34.1 DraftKings points. If he can get hot, he can really start hitting some shots against Washington. Robert Williams, as long as we see him playing, like he's dealing with the turf toe injury, like if he's out, Tristan Thompson's going to play a boatload of minutes at 4,800.
That's going to be another great value play.
Yeah, I think he becomes a good value play. But if Robert Williams plays and gets his 24-ish minutes, like I think it's going to be tough for him to do. But if he does, Matt, we have him as a 5.25 value. So I wouldn't hate him. Again, if he's out, Tristan Thompson becomes an elite play at 4,800 just because what you were talking about, all the spend ups, and there isn't too much value. I think he gets thrusted into around 30-ish minutes there. Grant Williams might get a tick in minutes too. He's currently 18. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays around 20, 22. Maybe we see Cornette if Robert Williams is out. But, Kemba might be my favorite play here. They need him to be that second guy behind Tatum, especially with Jaylen out. So I think Tatum at 7,300 might be one of the chalkiest guys on the slate, Matt. So that's probably where I'm going. I also love Tatum. I also love Fournier. Like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I'm running a one line to have those three guys in a cash lineup for myself.
Right. And it reminds me of the Celtics from last year, TJ, where we were just picking and choosing random Celtics and one of them would break the slate every single time. It's going to happen because Kemba Walker, Fournier, Tatum, they're all in fantastic spots. Even Robert Williams, if he plays, like their price tags are scary low, especially given the pace of this matchup. And again, I mean, if you just look at the game logs across the board, they're all green for these guys. Very high upside. One of these guys, if not two of these guys, have to be in your cash lineup somehow. And then, if you can pay down for the value, assuming that Robert Williams does sit, Tristan Thompson is going to be a great play and vice versa. If Robert Williams does play, then he also makes for an intriguing 5-2 play there, averaging 1.21 fantasy points per minute with those guys off the court. But very straightforward for the Celtics, unlike the other teams. These guys are going to go out and play their starters, and it's going to be a very thin rotation between those starters. So love all the high minutes there with the Celtics. That's one thing we're guaranteed with the high pace. Guys, don't leave because we're about to give you our favorite prize picks. We just covered the DraftKings session. Again, use code DGF. Pause the video right now on my annoying face and use code DGF right now on prizepicks.com. We'll leave the links below in the description, and we're going to give it to you right now. So I'm going to start out by giving my favorite plays because there's some strategy behind this. Okay.
Yeah, Matt, there is.
Brogdon, if he plays, no shot. There's no shot that McConnell's hitting 27 because Brogdon should play a majority of the minutes every single time. I'm not going to prove it to you guys, but if you guys go back in the game log, last time TJ McConnell was playing alongside Brogdon with a long stretch there with Brogdon, his minutes were limited, very limited, between 20 to 25 minutes. It's just tough to get to that 27-point projection. Right now, they have him projected for 20 minutes. He's going to have to hit all of his shots, especially against Charlotte there. Not the highest paced matchup for him. TJ McConnell, I'm hitting the under on, assuming Brogdon plays. That's the strategy, okay? If Brogdon doesn't play, just delete this part of the video. Just never talk to me again. Unfollow us, whatever. If Brogdon plays, I love the under of TJ McConnell, and you probably won't get it that low, or that high, rather, tomorrow if he is playing. Okay, so Jalen McDaniels, 21. Also like the under on Jalen McDaniels because, again, he's only projected right now, TJ, for 18 minutes. That's what he's showing right now. If he's really only projected 18 minutes, he has to average over a fantasy point per minute, and that's assuming he has a higher usage rate than some of the starters. It's going to be very hard for him to hit that projection of 21. I like the under on Jalen McDaniels. Yes, I know it's a higher pace matchup, but just in general, he's not a 1 fantasy point per minute player. Going to be very hard to hit that fantasy score. TJ, you hate unders. You probably hate those picks, but if you had to pick some overs, where are you going?
No, I can get behind the McConnell under if Brogdon's good to go. Just worried about like the minutes that Brogdon will actually see. Because in those games when Brogdon was playing 36, 38, like, yeah, McConnell wasn't playing as many. So like maybe McConnell does play a little bit more just because Brogdon's dealing with that hammy. But like I completely agree, Matt. If Brogdon is in, I would be taking that under on McConnell as well.
Right.
Man, that Beal over 42 seems really low in what should be a competitive game against the Celtics. I think that would probably be my favorite play from the Washington side. Like, yeah, I get Westbrook and what he's been doing in the 61. Like
61 still looks
low
too, though.
Yeah, we have Beal projected for 47.45 DraftKings points. So I think on your sheet you should have him for around 45-ish Prize Picks points.
Yep.
So I really do like that Beal over. And this morning when I checked it out, Matt, the Prize Picks, I was thinking about making a video, but there were only the 8 guys, and I've been getting sick of just, having to feel forced to, find one of those plays in between those guys when I think, when the full board is up, it gives you more of an opportunity. Kemba was at 37 this morning. Tatum was at 48. Kemba's now at 39.5, and we have Tatum at 49.5. So again, early bird gets the worm, like you did talk about to me, because I did mention it to you, and you told me I was an idiot for not playing him. But I think I like Kemba, man, at 39.5. Like I think I like the over there with Beal. Like I think those are going to be my 2 favorites. I also have interest in Fournier over 29. So I'm just going heavy on the Celtics.
Saw that. That actually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
that 29 is a little bit low there on Fournier. So I think if I'm pairing any between that Celtics and Wizards game, I would be throwing Beal in with one of Fournier and Kemba Walker.
I like those too. And by the way, just speaking to your point, the Spurs, Memphis, the Lakers, and Golden State guys are out. You might want to get a video out for that soon.
Up there now, yeah.
You guys might want to keep those notifications on. Hit those overs. Early bird gets the worm. So TJ will be posting a video hopefully.
Early worm gets the bird.
Wow. LeBron James at 46. Anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NBA playoff content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.
Love you guys. Good luck.